Am I the asshole for spraying my arm with no-chew dog spray so my stepsister wouldn't lick it anymore? So I have a step-sibling that is on the spectrum. One of the big issues she has is that she licks everything and everyone. It's some sort of sensory thing. She has a special therapist that's supposed to help with this problem. They've told my dad and stepmom to get her interested in licking other things. For example, she has these special bracelets and necklaces she wears for licking. My dad and stepmom say they've helped a lot with the issue, but every single time I have to come to visit she gets too close to me and licks me. It's gross and makes me uncomfortable. My dad and stepmom know it makes me uncomfortable and will pull her away when she does this, but she will inevitably lick me again multiple times while I'm there. On a side note, we got a new puppy at my mom's house. He has been having trouble with chewing furniture. We got this special no-chew spray that we sprayed on the legs of the furniture. Our puppy pretty much stopped chewing the furniture immediately. So the next time I had to go to my dad's, I decided to try spraying my arms and neck with the no-chew spray before I left. Within 20 minutes of being at my dad's place, my stepsister licks me. This time though she pulls away fast, makes this face, and starts freaking out. Anyway, my dad and stepmom got mad at me about it. They said what I did was mean and demeaning. But their stuff wasn't working at all and didn't make any difference when I was there. The spray did work though, because she didn't try to lick me or get too much into my personal space again till days later. After she tried to lick me again, my dad said I better not use the spray again. I said if they got her to stop licking me the spray wouldn't bother her. Then he said he would take me straight back home if it happened again. I said that I just wouldn't come back over there anymore. I didn't talk to him or anyone else for the rest of the trip. Since I've gotten home he's called me a few times and I have ignored all the calls. I've listened to a few voicemails he's left though. They're basically all saying the same thing, that this isn't how I'm supposed to treat family and I need to make exceptions and be understanding of my stepsister. Edit. Since I'm getting a lot of comments now, I'm going to just answer questions that haven't been asked already. Edit 2. Yeah, I'm definitely going to be missing a lot of your guys' comments. Each time a new one comes in, my phone scrolls up to the top and I have to scroll all the way back down. Not the asshole, you're allowed to not be licked. It would seem your stepsister is more capable of correcting her own behavior than her parents are expecting of her if your no-chew spray method worked for a few days. Their behavior needs correcting too, and removing yourself from a situation that makes you uncomfortable seems to make a lot of sense here. Keeping one family member comfortable at the expense of another isn't what families are supposed to do, either. Not the asshole. This is actually a pretty clever solution. They said what I did was mean and demeaning. You know what else is demeaning? Having people fucking lick you like a dog and to be expected to just tolerate it. Not the asshole. Other people's rights end at your body. Anyone saying you're the asshole is crazy, assuming you're just using that bitter apply no-chew spray. Not the asshole, 100%. Your stepsister is routinely violating you space and body. It's not her fault, per se, depending on where on the spectrum she falls, but that also doesn't mean you have to put up with it. I'm actually kind of surprised the therapist hasn't recommended something like this. A deterrent on preferred items in combination with the jewelry might help. Also, your father is a terrible father. Have you told your other parent about this? I'd be surprised if a judge wouldn't be willing to adjust a custody agreement in light of this. He's doing absolutely nothing to protect you from your stepsister's unwanted attention. Not the asshole. My parents used to get that stuff you put in your fingernails to stop chewing them when I was a kid. It's a few seconds of an unpleasant taste that helps to cure a gross habit, and I wasn't emotionally scarred by it. Not the asshole. Autistic parent with an autistic child here. Autists have different brain wiring and perceive the world differently. That's a scientific fact. This is why we function in ways neurotypical people don't understand. My perception of what you have done is that you're engaging in a very basic level of retraining. You're teaching that you taste unpleasant and therefore there is no sensory attraction to you anymore. That's completely acceptable in my book. Nobody has been harmed, everyone's bodily autonomy has been respected, nobody was forced to do anything against their will, and you have provided your stepsister with safe information in a manner she can process. Not the asshole. Not the asshole. Next time lick her first, establish dominance. I'm not familiar with this particular issue, and don't know how difficult it is to correct. However, under no circumstances should you tolerate this behavior. In that respect, your father is wrong. This is not a weird eccentricity that the family tolerates. It's a disgusting and potentially dangerous behavior. You have a right not to be assaulted in this way, and your relationship does not change this. Not the asshole. I think it's a great idea. It didn't hurt your stepsister and it put a temporary hold on the offensive behavior. Even if it does leave a bad taste in her mouth. Sorry, I couldn't resist. Not the asshole. Your dad and stepmom are trying to help the girl stop licking habits with the bracelets, but that obviously isn't working with you. You have a right to not be licked. That is the weirdest sentence I've ever written. If the dog spray works, it works. It isn't fatal, it's just unpleasant, and clearly it taught her a lesson. If your dad says you can't use the spray so that you don't have to be licked, tell him you're not visiting and stick to it. This girl really isn't your family. She's dad's wife's daughter. If they object to the dog spray, you could try the liquid no nail biting stuff. It's made for humans, so it might be okay. Not the asshole. I think this is an awesome solution. Your bodily autonomy matters. Not the asshole, this is genius. Of course you should try to be as understanding as possible, but that doesn't extend to giving up your bodily autonomy. Are they upset because the spray is intended for dogs, or that you used anything at all? 1. Not the asshole. 2. WTF. Not the asshole at all. Someone being neurodivergent does not give them a pass to make others around them unreasonably uncomfortable. You are not obligated to put up with her licking you, and it sounds like you found a good solution, LMAO. Not the asshole. You shouldn't have to put up with having your personal space invaded like that. It's uncomfortable and unsanitary. I understand she's on the spectrum, but the parents should be doing something to keep you safe as well. Your father made it very clear that you were not his priority when he said he would take you home, give up his time with you, because you're trying to ensure your boundaries are respected. I was having a hard time deciding on my judgment here, but then I thought about bodily autonomy. Her rights end at your body, so not the asshole. I'm sure there are better ways to handle this, but you aren't applying the spray to her directly. You're applying it to yourself to make yourself a less desirable surface to lick. As long as you aren't treating her like a dog or gloating about it and you made sure it was safe for humans before using it, I see this as a nonviolent way of asserting and protecting your bodily autonomy. Not the asshole. HAHAHAHAHAHAHAHAHA. This is actually a good and harmless solution. Your parents should be embracing this as a way for you to interact without being uncomfortable. Fun fact. Dog training techniques work just as effectively on toddlers. Canines are supposed to have around a 2-year-old's intelligence. Just never tell the mommy group or you'll get the stink eye. Not the asshole. You honestly need to sit down with your parents and tell them in no uncertain terms, hey, I understand why you want to bend over backwards to accommodate your child who has some sort of condition. And that's fine, but no one is allowed to be mad at me for having and enforcing boundaries. If you think I need to have zero boundaries and zero willingness to enforce boundaries, and I need to resign myself to letting people do things to my body even when it makes me feel weird or uncomfortable, then you need to think long and hard about how fucked up it is to try and program that mindset into a daughter. Info. How old is everyone? How long have your dad and stepmom been married? This is why autistic people don't learn boundaries. It's because of the overaccepting parents. WHO make endless excuses for them and no discipline. I'm on the spectrum and this shit never would have flied in my house. Not the asshole. There's bitter nail polish that parents put on children's nails to stop them from biting their nails or sucking their thumbs. You just expanded the concept a bit. It's probably exactly the same flavoring as in the dog anti-chewing spray, just in a different base and bigger quantity. And it worked. I think your father and stepmother haven't been understanding about how utterly gross being licked is. It's unsanitary and intrusive and counts as assault, FFS. They've been putting too much emphasis on stopping your stepsister without upsetting her, I think, and your tactic got you several lick-free days. I think spraying your arm is a genius solution, and I don't see the harm in it. Maybe I'm missing something? If you lick something that tastes nasty, well, you won't lick it again. Natural consequences, not punishment. Importantly, your sister is capable of learning this. If she wasn't capable of learning, then it would be unkind. Another idea would be long sleeves. You're not the a-hole. I think this was a good solution and harmless. It won't kill her or even harm her. Even with her being on the spectrum, you found it to successful, and a few more times and she'll probably stop. Your body, your choice. I think this was actually a great solution to the issue. She was not harmed by it, but it provided deterrence to stop the problem. You don't have to give up your boundaries just because of someone else's disability. Not the asshole. Your sister is assaulting people. No, it's not violent or sexual, but touching someone without their permission is assault. And her parents are doing nothing about it. They're lucky that you are her family, because you aren't the sort of person to take action against her or them, but someone else might. They are seriously failing her by not forcing her to keep herself to herself. Not the asshole. I'm worried about your sister. I personally think not the asshole. One of my siblings is disabled and had this problem as a child, along with biting and sucking his fingers so much they were constantly infected. We had to use a taste deterrent because nothing else worked, and he was suffering worse by getting such bad infections constantly. The licking might not be quite the same, but I don't think having to taste something bad is such an awful thing. Honestly, the fact that they're still doing it at 11, I think you said, is pretty concerning. They worked with my brother starting young, and he definitely stopped way before that. If they've been doing this for years and it still hasn't stopped, they need to try a different approach. As a behavior specialist, yep. Positive punishment for the win. Sometimes it really is that simple. Not the asshole. She'll be all right. Not the asshole. Autism or no, that is a serious boundary issue, and your parents should be taking it a little more seriously. Not wanting to be licked is not unreasonable. You've given their techniques time to work, and they haven't when it comes to you and your sister. So you came in with your own technique. The spray isn't harmful, just a bit upsetting, and getting licked is upsetting too. And most importantly, it seemed to work. I don't think that is an unreasonable measure to fix this problem. I mean, is your parents' argument really, you're cruel for putting on a spray so your sister can't enjoy licking you? Do they hear themselves? As a person on the spectrum, I'd say you're not the asshole. Your disability isn't an excuse to do things that make other people uncomfortable. Yay. No. Her rights end where yours begin. You have the right not to be touched, licked, etc., and if your dad and stepmom can't control their daughter, you have a right to protect yourself as long as it doesn't injure your sister. If your dad and stepmom don't see it that way, that's their issue. I have a child on the spectrum and I would never allow this type of behavior from him. I have stopped him from banging his head, forcefully rocking, arm flapping, etc., by redirecting his compulsive behavior to different things. Giving himself bear hugs was a huge help, and weighted items like vests and blankets were good when he was little. The point is, she can stop, and the yucky tasting no-chew spray proves this. Your parents need to stop enabling her so that she can function in a society that is not going to tolerate licking. They are not helping her by allowing this behavior to continue. Way to think outside of the box. I applaud you for coming up with a solution to the uncomfortable behavior. Not the asshole. Not the asshole. Just because she has autism doesn't mean you have to deal with being licked. If anything, the parents are assholes for not working more to curb this behavior. You're basically doing their job as parents for them and getting chewed out for it. Not the asshole. Does she sneak attack you to do it, or is it a situation where something triggers her and she licks whomever is closest? Is it a single swipe, or is it a repetitive thing until you push her away? I had a mental image of her sprinkling you with cinnamon or lemon pepper seasoning before licking your arm, but if she's trying to season you, there are massive red flags there. I agree with those that say you should go ahead and spritz yourself with the no-lick as a preventative. Dad doesn't like it? Well, he can get licked. And figure out a better solution. Do you have to go over there? Or could you avoid going over there as often? Just because someone is on the spectrum doesn't mean they are allowed access to your body. End of discussion. You're uncomfortable with it. It needs to stop. The family needs to call the therapist for a session with the family to develop coping strategies for everyone. If op wore heavy lotion all the time, would it be better because it didn't have the word puppy in it? Usually they are more toxic. Not the asshole. Not the asshole. I'm autistic and have used something similar to stop chewing habits. She has been given appropriate things to chew, but this needs to also come with deterrence on things that should not be chewed, otherwise the habits can't change. Just make sure everything's safe to ingest. I'm sure it is, being animal appropriate. Make sure you spend time with her in other ways so this doesn't deteriorate the relationship. You'll likely only have to do the spray thing a few times before she stops completely. Not the asshole. They said what I did was mean and demeaning, like, no it's not. Not the asshole, it's working and it's no different to painting someone's nails with a no-biting solution. Not the asshole. What spray did you use specifically? I just got a puppy so inquiring minds want to know. Not the asshole. This reads like something out of a horror story. Your parents and your stepsister need professional help. Not the asshole. The dad needs to recall that licking people is a big no-no, spectrum or not. As someone on the spectrum, I know you can't let these behaviors slide, or they will worsen. Your dad and stepmom need to teach her that licking people is bad, not just pull her away. They are enabling her otherwise. As an autistic person, not the asshole. Autism isn't an excuse to push our stims on other people, and it isn't like it's stopping her from stimming altogether. NTA, you should be able to visit your dad without getting licked. Not the asshole. Oh gosh, this is kind of genius that you, a child, got this solution figured out. It may not be the height of therapeutic technique, but it's not harmful and effective. Just wanted to add that this could legitimately cause some issues depending on her situation, and it could potentially be disruptive to ongoing therapy. So while I do not think you are the asshole, and I admire very much that you were focused on a solution that would allow you to interact with her comfortably, you may need to consider working with the team to get a better idea of how to redirect her that doesn't involve bitter apple. I can bet she could really use that. This is probably my favorite post of all time. The op is a magical genius, and definitely not the asshole. As someone who's on the spectrum and will lick my fiance's face repeatedly, not the asshole, I only do that to people who are okay with it because my parents taught me about respecting other people's boundaries. Not the asshole. That's fucking revolting no matter who is doing it, and you do not have to put up with it. Not the asshole. The fact that someone is on the spectrum does not mean they cannot learn how to behave. If anything, they tend to benefit from clear rules. Your parents need to stop enabling her. She is licking you in the midst of a pandemic, not the asshole. As someone who's on the spectrum, I sympathize, but she can't be licking people. That's just not cool. And honestly, it sounds like something that could get her registered as a sex offender if they don't get a hold on it while she's a child.